Welcome to the Unofficial Steelers podcast, the podcast so unofficial it doesn't have a home. Here's your host, from In Hindsight, Nathan Heitz. From Steelers Nation Australia, Mark Davison. And from State of the Steelers, Daniel J. Here we go.
We are back, everybody. Unofficial Steelers podcast is live with Daniel J, with myself. Another episode. I don't even know what episode number this is, to be honest. I've actually stopped putting the episode number in the title because I can't remember. I have to look back and recount it. But hopefully all you guys in the chat are doing well. Good to see you guys. Your Devil, Jennifer, Steeler Girl, Steeler Fan, Afton, George. What's up, guys? Good to see you. Hopefully you guys have been doing pretty well since last time that we saw you guys. We have some things to talk about, and it should be pretty fun. Daniel, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. It's been a exciting day, for trying to figure, realizing who's going to make the 53. If any of our predictions came to light, pre-training camp, who was going to make the team, who was going to get cut, things of that nature. It's been an exciting day, I think, and a little bit of surprises. I would say nothing too surprising yet, but a couple little ones. Right.
Yeah. No, I hear you, man. And it's the day of just really all the cuts from every team, everybody dwindling down to 53 players. That's all pretty much set in stone around the league. And rather than it being a weekly cut situation, now it's just all in one day. So we'll talk about it. But before we get into that, the preseason is over. It's wrapped up. It's a great feeling that preseason is done. I honestly don't like the double-digit day gap in between after preseason and the start of the regular season. I don't like that. I don't like it. It feels too long. I feel like guys are sitting on their ass for too long. I would have liked to seen like it for this upcoming week is game week. Do you agree with that?
I do. I think that, here's the thing, though. I think they do it for a reason. Right now, you have a lot of players getting cut, right, that are going to have to transition to a new team. So I think for that essence, for the new players that are coming in, having that extra time to learn the minor, learn the playbook and the nuances of the game, things of that nature. I think it's all right. I think it sucks as a fan. You want to see it now. You want to see a transition. But I think for the players and the players that are coming in that were cut from other teams, I think in that aspect that it's a good thing.
Yeah. No, I get it. I'd like for it to just be shifted a little bit differently, where you're able to have that time, but also you're not waiting two weeks until the season starts. I think there's a different way that you can go about it, especially with them already eliminating one preseason game a couple years ago. But about the preseason, Daniel, we saw the Steelers go 3-0 and finish the preseason 3-0. And I feel like that the Steelers had the best preseason they've had in quite a long time. And I think that they've shown us fans, for themselves, really everything that you wanted to see this preseason, from rookie standpoints, from an offense that was bad last year, and at least from what we've seen in the preseason, it looks pretty promising. Terms defensively, we saw really everybody on the defense, everybody finished healthy. So for you, do you agree with my take that this is probably the best Steelers preseason quite a while, and ultimately really I feel like pretty much everything went perfect?
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, the fact that they went 3-0 I don't think has any bearing on anything. It's the performance of the starters. Kenny Pickett going in on 5 drives, having 5 touchdowns. putting the ball in the air in places that were troublesome for him in this offense last year to get going, such as in the middle of the field and down the field. And, I thought he did a fantastic job in both of those areas. It seemed like they were really trying not to run the ball too much, even though, Jalen Warren had some explosive runs there. But I think they were trying to preserve the backs for obviously the regular season as they take a much, harder toll. And so, with that being said, I do think that this is probably one of their better, if not best, preseasons in a while. You go, like I said, the starters go perfect, scoring touchdowns on every drive. I think they only allowed one touchdown, and in that game, I think it was against Baker Mayfield, and it really wasn't the starters. It was just who started the game was still in that game, but a lot of the actual starters like TJ, Minka, Cam, they weren't in that game. So I think they did all right. I think they did good. I think it's promising. I'd be super disappointed if the Steelers go 3-and-out on the first drive. I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah.
But, I think that there's right. To me, I just think that there's a lot of optimism, and rightfully so. I'm one of the people that are very optimistic about this team right now. I think you have to be. I mean, the starters played so well. And so, yeah, I agree with it. I just, like I said, the 3-0 part of it doesn't really make a difference because, like, if you look at that Atlanta game, all 24 points were scored in the first half, and that was it.
Right. Yeah. It doesn't really matter what the record is, just in the sense of what you saw from both sides of the ball. Really, ultimately, throughout the entire preseason was very encouraging. And when we look at everybody that really played, got to showcase themselves, whatever the case was, there's some winners, there's some losers. Give me a list of who you think your winners of this preseason is.
Well, I mean, I think Kendrick Green, he's a winner because he got out of here. But, and for his own right, and the Steelers are a winner because he also got out of here. It was a win-win for both sides.
Definitely.
But I think Kenny Pickett definitely is one that was a winner this year. Or as that goes, I mean, the only loser, I guess you can say, because I think there's more winners than there are losers, so it's easier to go down the list on the loser aspect. You know what I'm saying? So, Brandon Fehoko didn't make the team. Why? I don't know. Maybe it's something that he wasn't, developing correctly or a right fit, and it wasn't going right in the practices. I'm not sure, but Zach Gentry, he ended up losing his job. So obviously those guys are going to be on the losing end of things. But I think that there's a possibility that one or maybe even both of those guys end up back on the roster. The Steelers kept two punters, and I highly doubt they're going to have two punters on this team unless there's an injury to Presley Harvin that we're not aware of, and he's questionable for the first couple of weeks of the season. I don't think that the Steelers go into the season with two punters. I think Man's on the trading block, and if he was able to make the 53 and basically take somebody else off the 53, that tells me there's at least two teams that are interested in his services.
Yeah, so it's interesting. Ultimately, don't know what they're gonna do. Kenny's definitely under the winning territory, man. He was the best quarterback throughout the preseason out of everybody. Mark, what's up, man? Steelers gonna win with two punters. Well, hey, Presley Harvin can throw the ball as well, so maybe we might see something from that this year on a fake punt. First team ever to win with two punters. Omar Khan will say a big FU to the NFL.
Well, it's because
these two guys just for the heck of it, and it doesn't even matter.
The reason they kept them both is because they're going to be utilizing Presley Harvin as the fullback as well, and in case something happens, they have somebody on the roster.
He's that offensive dynamo that we've been needing.
Yeah. He can
I
also
don't know, maybe
do,
they might have him punt and punt return. Who knows?
You never know, man.
Yeah, Kenny was definitely on the winning end. I also think when you look at Dan Moore, I think he's deserved to be in that territory. Dan Moore did a really good job keeping his own. Not that Broderick Jones did bad. He did well for himself. But he's still young. I still think we'll probably see him sometime this year. But good on Dan Moore for staying composed, for just going out and working hard and ultimately trying to better himself, because he could have completely went a different direction with them drafting Jones and not really wanting to put in the effort or not wanting to be here. But he did complete opposite of that. I think he's on there. I think you look some of the linebacker play, that's in that type of territory. Possibly even Jaylen Warren, you can put him in that category. So you can put a handful of guys, George Biggins, you can put a handful of guys in that territory that ultimately contributed to the offense playing as well as they did, and even some guys out on the defense that played as well as they did. But with preseason being over, we look at the kind of preseason battles that we were looking at, and those kind of seem to be solidified. It looks like Nick Herbig's probably going to be edge number 3 over Marcus Golden, probably. The offensive line kinds of seem to be set in terms of their starting rotation. Punt return, I would imagine, are probably going to be Calvin Austin. I don't really know who else that they're probably going to put out there. He's been the most productive guy, and he might finally be somebody that we can have back there that can actually be consistent, which that's been quite a while. Cornerback, still don't really know what they're going to do there. Like, I'm sure probably Pearson will start as an outside guy, but I still think he'll be moved around. How much time do you think Quan Alexander is going to have a linebacker?
Oh, I think he's going to be out there quite a bit. He's a guy, though, that does have a little bit of an injury history. So you might want to limit his plays, but that's because he's a thinner athletic guy, but he has the ability to be a thud type of linebacker, go in there and hit hard. I mean, we've seen plenty of examples of him, knocking guys around. Right. And so, given his size and his physicality, sometimes that leads to injury. So I think he's probably going to get somewhere around 45% of the snaps, maybe 40. I do think Elandon Roberts and Cole Holcomb will probably be at least at first, the number 1 and number 2 guys that are in. But I do think that once, the team goes into, against teams that throw heavy, I think we might see in those games a heavy dose of Quan Alexander.
Yeah. Well, and he's somebody that they've needed. When we look at the defensive line, you briefly said Fiocco was cut. Their defensive line seems pretty. Man, that was. I'm sure it was probably a tough decision, just because you have just a handful of guys there. It's fairly depth heavy at that position, and somebody was going to be the odd man out. So when we look at the guys there, how much time do you think Keanu Benton's going to have till he's starting every single week?
Oh man, I think that's his role. I don't know if it is going to be one that you're going to see him as a starter too often right now. Just because I think he's going to be utilized more as a plug guy. He does have the pass rush ability to him. His preseason was very impressive. There was some concerns, in my opinion, from me personally. I saw the reports where Kendrick Green was handling, and I was like, man, that's not a good sign. And then, this was before any of the preseason games. And then when he's out there, he's disruptive. So, I think it's going to probably be somewhere around halfway through the season before he ends up overtaking, Martavius Adams or anybody else, in my opinion. What about you? What do you think?
Yeah. So there's Afrin says surprised they kept Watts over Fiocco. Yeah, I don't know too much about Armand Watts. I really don't. I doubt he even plays that much. So Loudermilk eventually got the rub. He's sticking around. I don't know, dude. I knew that there was going to be somebody that was the odd man out. I'm kind of not really surprised it was him just because he wasn't really a coveted guy that they got really in the offseason. And there's just guys there that I think there was an even playing field, but quite simply, he just got outplayed. And that's just how it is. He just got outplayed. There's other things from other guys. It seems like they liked more. And it is what it is. Montravius Adams, I honestly think that his starting job is on thin ice. I really do. I don't think that he's going to be somebody that is going to be the not saying he won't start week 1. He could. And I'm not sitting here saying that I think Montravius Adams is like a bad player necessarily. But I don't think that he's somebody that's to me he doesn't change much. He's expendable. He's somebody that I think could easily get replaced, and I don't see him being the starter the whole entire season. So depending on production there, that will ultimately be it. But I think Keanu Benton, I think that he'll probably have some more limited type snaps, but I think he's going to work himself up, and I think he's eventually going to get plugged in as a starter at some point this year. But excited to see him, though. I think that he did some good things this preseason. What about the cornerback situation? What do you think is going on there?
I mean, I think it was pretty much what everybody expected. I mean, the only one that's on there that's probably all right, maybe a surprise, so to speak, is James Pierre. But I think that he's on there because Corey Trice got hurt. If that injury doesn't occur, I think he's taking that place. The cornerbacks, Joey Porter Jr., Chandon Sullivan, Elijah Riley, Levi Wallace, Patrick Peterson. I think that's a good group. I think that I do worry a little bit because, I think there might be a lack of speed amongst these guys, and Patrick Peterson, I think, was the fastest guy in his prime, but at 33, 34, I don't think he's there still. So, I think that's the only concern that I have out of the cornerback room is there a lack of speed? The Steelers want to play physical man defense. You got to be quick too.
Right.
But, nothing out of the ordinary. I think that if a position ends up getting addressed, between now and week 1 or the week 1 game, I think the defensive back be a room that gets addressed.
Mm-hmm. Right. So, because there was a few corners that got cut today.
Mm-hmm.
So it still could be on the table to them possibly bringing somebody in. Right now, it probably looks like Peterson, Wallace, Porter. Peterson's definitely not going to be playing outside the entire game. He's going to be moving in some slot at some points, guarantee it. Elijah Riley deserved to be deserve to make a roster spot. Don't know how much time he's going to get on a weekly basis, but he still deserves that. Chandon Sullivan, he's going to get some time as well in the slot, but it's still possible they bring somebody in. It's 100% possible. Texas T-Rex. Yep, the T-Rex is in Texas. Daniel, think about it. The T-Rex is right outside where you live.
I'm gonna be at that game. The Steelers when they travel to the Houston Texans.
You're gonna see him up and
so
close.
I'll be there. I'll be able
dinosaur up and close, my friend.
I'll be able to see what it's felt like for every other team to see their team dominate the offensive line of the opposing team.
Dude, he might start because their guard's out for the year.
Yeah. There's a good chance he could start.
Yeah, he could start, man. He could start. Kenyon Green is out for the year, who they drafted a couple years ago.
Well, they're trying to pull a fast one.
Yeah. They
the
really
Houston
might be.
Texans.
Yeah.
Their names are so similar. They're like nobody will notice.
Yeah, nobody will notice. the Houston T-Rexans. That's who it's going to be. So best of luck, Kendrick Green. Though I don't think it's not personal or anything. It's just that the guy's just not really. He just has not been good. And all the best to him. Hopefully, he's able to develop his game with Houston. That they're able to maybe he's maybe able to find a home there. And the other guy on the move is Kevin Dotson. Definitely somebody that they would get something for. Everybody was probably surprised that they got something for Kendrick Green, even though it's a 6th-round pick in 2 years. But still, nonetheless, they got something for him. Kevin Dotson is going to get an opportunity in LA. They have been a team lately that has been struggling with their offensive line just because of a lot of money that they've put into guys during their Super Bowl run. So they're trying to kind of hit a little bit of a restart button. So Kevin Dotson might get some opportunity there to possibly eventually become a starter there. Daniel, to be honest with you, I don't think Kevin Dotson is going to be too missed.
No. I have a question for you. How do you think Ben Roethlisberger feels right now, knowing that his final season, his go off into the sunset, hopefully make a Super Bowl run, had Kendrick Green as his center and Dotson as his guard for part of that year?
Yeah.
How do you think he feels? He had some choice when Kendrick Green wasn't even a part of the first team offense as a center.
Right.
He's not even making the
squad.
He's traded. Yeah, that was his last center. And I believe Dotson was his last. So, that tells you a little something about the offensive line that he had to work with.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I guarantee that he wishes that the Steelers did a little bit of a better job that offseason to strengthen that offensive line through the draft or just through free agency in general. I think we all can sit there and agree that they should have did that year. But it is what it is. So I think for the most part, like Ben was at the point that year, like the way the NFL was during his prime is completely different than where it is now. And just the way the offense has changed, it was just kind of hard for him to kind of overcome some of those things with the way that modern NFL offense is. But I think for what it's worth, I think that he still went out well. I really do. He did not, to me. I know that the arm wasn't, of course it's not going to be the same. The guy was 39. So of course the arm's not going to be the same than what it was in his prime. But I think for the most part, I think what he did, he still didn't really turn over the ball too much. They still won 9 games. They still got to have a shot in the playoffs. So, and he had a great win at home against Cleveland. So I honestly think that he went out pretty well. I really do.
I agree. If something, let's not go with, if something were to happen to KPA, would you take a 41-year-old Ben off the couch over Mitch Trubisky and Mason Rudolph with this team?
That's a good question. Probably not. Because the guy hasn't played for 2 years. And the guy can't move anymore. So
but he don't, this offensive line, he may not need to.
Yeah, he might not need to. Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question to think about. But I feel like that we would probably get, I don't know. I think we would definitely get a worse version than we did in his final year. But I really think that he would be just as good as Mitch, to be honest. I really do. Just Mitch would just be able to run a little bit more.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you guys have watched Channel 7 and his football, and he's in the best shape of his life.
Well, hey, I don't think he wanted to fully retire.
No, he didn't. He even considered going to the 49ers.
Yeah. No, he wasn't 100% there. He was probably 1 foot in, 1 foot out, but I bet he thought that he could have at least played one more.
Yeah, I agree.
And maybe he could have. If we look at last year, they still could have drafted Kenny in the first round, brought him back. Not saying that this is what they should have did. I'm just saying hypothetically, they could have brought him back and not signed Mitch and brought him back for 1 year and did a better job last offseason establishing the line. Still drafted Kenny, and Kenny could have sat for a year, but I still don't think that would have been the right thing to do.
Yeah. I think that if Ben,
I still don't.
Yeah. I think if Ben struggled with Kenny Pickett behind him, I think that would be pretty disrespectful to be, having the Kenny chance. Right. When Mitch Trubisky's out there, it's Mitch Trubisky.
Yeah. No, it's that would not have been an ideal situation because people would have wanted to see the young kid. People probably been like just kind of ready for Ben to move on, and it wouldn't have been a good situation. So I think he went out at the right time. I really do. And he can sit there and think that he still could have had it. Ultimately, he was done. It's just the reality. It's just the reality. Like, did Steelers fans ultimately wanted to see him go? No, because of everything that he did. But he was he went out at the right time. He went out in a good way. He had a good opportunity, at least for a playoff shot. And that's the right way to go out.
Yeah, no, for sure.
So,
and,
it is what it is.
I think everybody was ready for it too. His last game against his last home game against the Browns, everybody was congratulating him and, yelling out 7. And I was watching the game, and it was just a lot of emotion for myself. I started watching him play when, I was a teenager when he started playing, almost, I think maybe I've been 18, maybe 17, somewhere around there. And so I watched his entire career, but I don't think anybody was chanting 1 more year. I don't remember hearing that.
No,
I think everybody
I don't
knew.
think so. Yeah, I don't think so either. Yeah, no, Devin, you're not wrong. We both agree. It would have set him back another year. I think Kenny should have started the beginning of last season, and I think we're all ultimately on that train. So if hypothetically Ben came back 1 more year and they drafted Kenny and sat Kenny for the year, I don't think that would have been a good decision, because Kenny would be a rookie this year at age 25.
Right. Yeah. No, I wouldn't. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, like, if Kenny were to, happen to miss more than a couple of games, half a season or something, and you have Mitch Trubisky, who, his last performance, he did okay. I think it was against Carolina, but everybody was shouting for Mason behind him, which was something I never thought I'd ever hear coming out of Pittsburgh was the Mason, chants. But those were coming out, and I was thinking to myself, if he were to go in, throw 3 interceptions, just like he did when he was going in against the Ravens, at that point, would you consider bringing back the old veteran there? I think I would consider it. I think I would.
I wouldn't, man. I wouldn't. I would if that happened. God forbid that happens. If that would happen, I would just try to go out of my way and go get a guy who I know is better than what we already have, and be a rental for 1 year.
Yeah, but if there was a guy that's better than what we already have, he's not going to be out there.
You got to make a trade. If you're the Steelers, and if that would happen, hypothetically, if that would happen, you have a playoff caliber roster, and you don't want to waste this season, the best option would be go make a trade for a guy already on a team that can at least fill the role for 1 year. That's better than what you got. That's your best shot.
No, maybe. I agree.
I think that's your best shot. Heck, I think Gardner Minshew's better than these 2 guys that we got.
I would agree. But, people aren't giving up number 2 quarterbacks, especially if they're good, for nothing.
Yeah, but if you want to make something out of this year, if that would happen, and if you wanted to make something out of this year, giving up a mid-round pick for a backup quarterback, I think most teams would probably do that.
I mean, it depends.
For a rental. That's why, it does depend, but it depends who it is.
But because as an organization, you're going to know that team is coming in with their back against the wall, and you can Omar Khan them. And you can Omar Khan somebody if they come in desperate. That's what happened with Kendrick Green.
Yeah,
Texans, they knew they lost their guard, and they're coming in desperate. This was a guy that the Steelers were probably going to drop anyways. You know what I'm saying? So they end up getting a 6 in a couple of years for a guy that the Steelers were probably just going to cut.
Right. Yeah, it's too bad they spent a 3rd round pick on him, but that happens to every team. But Kenny comes off to me as somebody who's a guy that, and there's quarterbacks you can look at even before like stuff happens, and like, all right, do they kind of have the durability? Do they not? Like, he comes off to me as someone who takes care of his body, and somebody who would, for the most part, be pretty healthy throughout his career.
No, I agree. I mean, there's just, like I said, look at what happened to San Francisco last year. Just injury after injury after injury, to the point where they reached out to Ben Roethlisberger. Right. And he considered going to San Francisco, but said he'd only play again for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And so, that's why I'm saying I think that maybe perhaps I think that there could be a consideration there. I mean, the Steelers even did that when Tommy Maddox got hurt. They had Ben Roethlisberger in the wing. It was his rookie year, But apparently Bill Cowher reached out to Neil O'Donnell and tried to bring back Neil that year out of retirement to play for the Steelers. Unfortunately, Neil said no, and the Steelers ended up going on, and Ben's career ended up being what it was. Right. But it's not uncommon.
Are you good?
So, I don't.
Okay,
yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Yeah, we're good. We're good.
I was waiting on you.
Yeah, no, we're good. We're good. Yeah, no, I hear you. It's an interesting conversation. It definitely is. Mm-hmm. But when we look at what else can we look at here? Yeah, one guy I was surprised that didn't make the team was Kenny Robinson. I thought he did fairly well for himself throughout the preseason, everything like that. They still could keep him, put him on the practice squad. But I was a little surprised that he didn't get a nod or maybe some more consideration.
Well, out of all the players that the Steelers dropped, they have 2 punters on the team. That's highly unlikely that that's going to continue going into the regular season. Like, at that game, there's not going to be 2 punters on the team. If there's a player that the Steelers could sign back or would cut with, the intention to sign back, I can't remember the player's name, but it happened not too long ago with one of our defensive backs. Right. He ended up getting cut, and he Twitter or something like, I think I'll be back or something like that. And sure enough, it was because they wanted to put somebody on injured reserve that they had to wait for them to make the 53 first. Because if you put somebody on injured reserve before the 53 is done, then that player cannot play that year. So if you wait until the 53 is done and you have that player on your roster, and then you have to wait, I don't know if it's like a day or a couple of hours or whatever the case may be, then you put that person on injured reserve, and then they're eligible to come back the same year. And so the Steelers have done that where they cut players they know they're going to end up bringing back. So out of these players, if they were to bring back one, which player do you think they're bringing back?
Out of everybody that got cut today?
Yeah.
It's a good question. I'm going to say probably a DB. I think Kenny Robinson could be a guy that could come back. Because if you have Fitzpatrick, KZ, Keanu Neal, Killebrews, mainly special teams guy that you have rostered. They cut Trey Norwood. So maybe him. I didn't really see any corner that I could see them bringing back. There wasn't really anybody on it. I don't know, maybe Gentry. They could maybe bring him back if they still think there's a spot for him, because they'll probably use Connor Hayward a couple different ways. They might bring him back just for a depth spot.
Yeah, I'm thinking Gentry as well. And, it could be Rodney Williams or whatever his name is. I can't remember. Is it Rodney? What's his name? Rodney what?
Who?
I said Rodney Williams.
Rodney Williams.
What's tight end? Rodney what? Or what is his name? The one that they cut today? Yeah, the guy they cut.
Oh, God, I don't even remember his name.
Shoot, I don't remember his name either. Well, anyways, there was a tight end that was given some, I think it was on Steelers.com or something like that, that they were giving some, I think it was Craig Wolfley on Steel City Insider. They were giving some praise to the 4th tight end. Bring back Gentry.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about, number 87. Yeah, I forget his name.
Yeah, I thought it was Rodney. I could have sworn it was Rodney something. Rodney Williams. I was right. You're making me question myself. Yeah.
Well, there you go. I was like, who the heck is that? Yeah, I couldn't remember his name.
Yeah, he was number, I think, 87. Yeah, he looked solid. I mean, I think maybe himself, maybe Zach Gentry would come back. And the reason being is, you have Pat Frymuth, who has had a little bit of a concussion situation, and you have Darnell Washington, where he dropped in the draft because of possible injury concerns. Going into the season with those 2 guys as your only tight ends that are able to block properly, that you can trust to block, because I don't think Connor Hayward is that guy. He's not going to get out there and stop a defensive end. He might, do okay, but it's not going to be as much as these guys. So I would have thought they would have kept another traditional tight end and not just gone with those two guys, for the season. And, so I think maybe there is a possibility that Ronnie Williams or Zach Gentry finds their way back on the team.
Yeah. No, it's possible. It'll probably be one of those guys that they cut. I still think it's possible they bring another corner. I don't know how comfortable they feel with James Pierre there. So I think it's definitely possible. Like Bradley Roby got cut. Not saying that they'll bring him in, but there's a few names out there. But overall, like just I'm sure I think we both feel the same way. I'm sure everybody in the chat feels the same way. When we look at the team overall, and we won't really make this like a prediction video or really going in depth about how we feel overall about the whole AFC or AFC North, blah, blah, blah. But I think that really we all feel, and I think most Steelers fans feel pretty optimistic and feel pretty good about this team as a whole. You look at the offensive line. Offensive line's upgraded. Offensive line got upgraded this offseason. You look at Kenny, who looked fantastic in the preseason. I know it's preseason, believe me. But what he did this preseason is a lot better than what he did last year. He started this year compared to last year. He was involved in first-team reps, first-team situations. Last year, he was involved in third-string situations. You have Najee and Jaylen Warren, who Jaylen Warren's definitely going to get some more snaps, but I think they offset each other pretty well. And you have an underrated young just core offensively. Defensively, you just have a whole bunch of guys out there defensively that are all high-caliber type guys. Cam, Minka, TJ, that's your core. Really a whole new group at linebacker. We have to really see how it transitions on the field. But I think most people should feel better about it. Like, I want to let it play out before I say that we upgraded the position, but I feel better about it than what we had last year. I do. Corner, we know that there's maybe a little bit of thinness there, but ultimately they're going to be moving some guys around, which will be good. Safety's interesting with Kazi and Keanu Neal. But, dude, they just have depth at a lot of positions. Mm-hmm. Edge, defensive line, a little bit in the secondary. Sure, could the secondary be a little better? Yeah, but, like, every team's going to have holes every year. It is what it is. Offensive line, even some of the offensive line depth. Herbig, Spencer Anderson earned a spot.
Yeah.
Right? You look at running back. You look at wide receiver. I know maybe past the top four, there's a little bit there of like Gunner and Boykin or blah, blah, blah. But like, dude, it's a good group. And I really think that this is I think that when we look at this team, I'm not comparing this team to past teams, but I'm going to say I'm going to say I think this is the best Steelers team roster-wise before the season starts that we've had in at least a little while. I really do. I think they're pretty loaded at both sides of the ball. Now, I'm not sitting here making predictions. I'm not sitting here saying how I think everybody's going to do. But I think when you look at it at face value, and for what it is, what we saw in the preseason, this has the potential to be the best Steeler team that we've had in quite some time.
Yeah, I agree, and you can't also turn away from what the special teams has done. I think that Chris Boswell's played well. Presley Harvin was impressed. In his last game, he had most of his punts down in the 10. And I think that, Quan is going to change his number. What number do you think he's going with? That's a good question.
Dude, give him a freaking single-digit number, bro. Like, let him be the catalyst guy to wear a single-digit number. Let him wear number 5 or whatever number he wants to wear. And then let that be a thing. He should wear 5, but they'll probably make him wear like 46 or something stupid.
53 is a one that they might make him wear. Do you think he'd look?
Yeah.
I don't know if he'd look 50. Mm-hmm. Yeah. 26, he looks too much like Le'Veon Bell out there. When I'm watching him play, I start to think to myself, like, Yeah, maybe we should have tried Lev Bell and middle linebacker.
Yeah. No, there's too many 50s, man. There's too many 50s. I'd like to see him wear number 5. Heck, I would have liked to seen Joey Porter wear number 5 or something, or 9.
Yeah, but I think it was Darnell Washington said that the team is not going to, give away. They're going to do.
They're freaking losers. That's why they're freaking losers. That's why. I love them, but they're losers.
So, knowing that he's not going to get a single digit number, what do you think he's going to actually get? Do you think he'll get a 50, a 90, or will he stay in the 20s?
Good question. God, I actually don't mind him in 26. I don't mind him in 26, man, at all. But McFarland will probably wear it since he's had it. He might turn it into T-Rex if you give him 53. Yeah, he takes Kendrick Green's number. Yeah, I'm not feeling 53 though. I don't think that's gonna look good on him. Trying to go by like number wise. I'm trying to picture it in my head. 50's taken. I don't know, maybe 51. Like, is somebody 51?
It's Nick Herbig. Nick Herbig's 51.
Yeah. Okay.
52 is not going to be used. 53 is available. Who's 54? Yeah. No, that's Golden.
Yeah, Golden's 54. God, dude, there's too many linebackers are in their 50s. I could see him wearing a number in the 40s.
I think 40s might be it.
Yeah,
I think that would look good on him.
I think he'll wear something in the 40s. Like, if we're going to go through the numbers in 40s, I feel like a 46 might be okay. Maybe
I think he's going with 41.
41, maybe 49. I think 49. I don't know. Like, I don't know. I'm gonna say somewhere. I'm gonna say one of the 40s because nobody has it yet, and there's a lot of 90s. There's a handful of 50s. 44. Yeah, there's that. Watch him come out with 0. That'd be kind of sick.
57. Isn't that Martavius Adams?
Yeah, I think he's 57. 46 is Christian Kuntz. Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe like 44 for him, or maybe like you said 41, maybe a 49. I'm gonna say he's somewhere in the 40s.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
what about
40s,
like 45? Is somebody 45?
I don't know if anybody's 45, but I really think that 41 would suit him the best. That's just my opinion. Okay, I think that one would suit him the best. 41. It looks sleek. There was a guy that was wearing it in preseason, and one of the cornerbacks, he didn't make the team.
Yeah, 41 might be okay. What about 43?
That ain't coming out.
No, that ain't happening. Just retire that one already.
It's going to be about 50, 55 years if the Steelers stick to their, timeline of when they do those type of things.
Yeah, I don't know. They're weird, dude. I don't really understand it, but whatever.
Like, I don't like Mark Robinson in 93 as a middle linebacker. He looks too much like an edge. He reminds me of like miniature Debo out there.
Mini Deebs.
Yeah.
Chasing Worlds, man.
Yeah, but even Worlds was an edge. 93 93 speaks edge to me versus inside linebacker.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. Lawrence Simmons was 94.
That's true. Yeah, 94 seems like a middle linebacker.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I don't know, dude. I don't know. I think it'd be cool if they let him rock a single digit number. I don't know. I think I wanted to see Pickens wear number 1 last year. I thought that would have been cool. Letting Washington rock 0 would have been cool. Letting Porter wear 5 or 9 would have been cool. I know Boswell's 9, so probably 5. 91's the only one not in use. Yeah. Jeez, that's crazy. Like, all the 90s are taken. Dude, you know what's another thing, too, I've noticed for the Steelers is that, like, none of, like, their starting wide receivers over the last, like, 4 years have, like, been, like, in like, the 80s.
Yeah. No, you're right.
They've all been
just
in the team.
Antonio Brown.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Like, in the last, like, 3-4 years since he's been on the team.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. There hasn't been very many 80 receivers. I think the 80s has been more towards the tight end thus far.
Yeah.
Since Antonio Brown's departure.
Yeah. Yeah. Nobody's really worn it. since his last year with us was 2018, so since 2019.
Let me see something. Gunnar Olszewski, I think, is the only wide receiver wearing an 80s number on the team.
Yeah. Yep.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting.
Yeah. So that's something that they've kind of done away with, at least as of now. But yeah, I just mean like starters. I don't mean every wide receiver. I just mean like starters, like the top 3 guys. Like none of them have like worn the 80s.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. We'll see what Alexander decides to pick or what they let him pick. I don't know. Maybe they'll be like, well, I don't know. We don't really have a number for you, so you're out of luck because it doesn't seem like the Steelers are satisfied with jersey numbers.
Yeah, unless when he signed, he's like, I want 26, and they're like, Anthony McFarland has that. Don't worry, he's not going to make the team. He just shows up.
Yeah. Let McFarland change his number then. Who cares? Let McFarland wear 38. We'll have Jalen Samuels back there again.
Maybe. I mean, I think it was it was from Steelers Depot, Alex Kazora. He has this thing about numbers too, and he had said that he thought that if Benny Snell and Anthony McFarland switched numbers, that they have a better career. I would say I think that those 2 numbers would have been switched if Snell was 26 and McFarland was 24. That they would have fit them better.
I could see McFarland in 24.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I could see McFarland in 24. I know it's weird with like numbers, man, because like there's just numbers that just don't fit guys at all.
Yeah,
and just look terrible. They just look awful. Like, dude, in my opinion, I hate quarterbacks that wear the number 10. I do not like the number 10 on a quarterback.
Really?
Yeah, it looks odd to me. It looks odd.
It don't look that odd to me, but I'm accustomed to Cordell Stewart being number 10.
Yeah.
And so
I don't know. I like 10 on a wide receiver better.
Yeah, I can see that.
Like when we look at quarterback numbers, like one is good, 8's good, 7's good, 9. I like 9 a lot on a quarterback. 2 maybe, just depends. Yeah, I don't know. I think sometimes numbers are like weird.
I mean, who's the most successful number? Who's the most successful quarterback to wear 2? Ryan was from Atlanta. Was it Matt Ryan?
Possibly. Yeah, possibly. Could be Matt Ryan.
You see, somebody could take that number, and if they can win a Super Bowl and have a legacy, that's a number that people will remember. There's a lot of 8s. You have Kenny Pickett, you have Troy Aikman, you have Lamar Jackson, Steve Young. I mean, the list goes on, right? 7s. Yeah, 7s is basically like what John Elway, Ben Roethlisberger. I don't remember any other, like historic 7s, like other than this.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. Some people can just rock numbers. Some people look all right in whatever they wear. Some just don't look good on certain guys. I don't know. It's just kind of weird how like jersey numbers work sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, overall, man, I think preseason wise, I think we all have a great feeling going into the year. I think they have a really good shot to beat San Francisco. I like their team as a whole. I think they have a lot of good depth, which some years they don't have that. So you got to give credit to Omar Khan. You got to give credit to Andy Weidel. You got to give credit to them. They did a great job this offseason through the draft, through free agency. I don't really think there's I don't really think there's too much to dislike about this team, man. Hopefully it transitions on the field. Hopefully they stay healthy, because if they do, it can be a really dangerous team.
I agree. Yeah, I think this team's going to compete. They're going to be a contender this year. There's just too much talent across the board. This team has been well put together, and I just think this team's gonna compete, and they're gonna make a playoff run. I think they're going to go deep.
I hope so, man. It'd be great to see. It's been a while. Yep. So I don't know. There's really just a few things to look out for before the season starts if they decide to bring anybody in. Really just any type of news that might come out of the Niners or the Steelers. Nick Bosa still doesn't have a contract. He's been holding out. So is Nick Bosa going to be a guy that will he miss the first game? If he does, that'd be huge.
Yeah.
So that's something to keep an eye out for.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, Brock Purdy is also, he's coming off of the elbow injury. He hasn't had, the off season that he probably would have wanted to have, because of him nursing that injury. So I think there's a good possibility that the Steelers are going to surprise some people against that team, and they're going to take them, by surprise.
Yeah, I could see Purdy being a guy that throws a couple picks.
Yeah. Oh man.
Brian, we're thinking about you, man. Prayers to you, brother. In Florida, we know it's that time of year. And stay safe, man, with the storm that's supposed to hit down there. Hopefully it's something that hopefully it's something that doesn't really cause too much. But just be safe, man. And we'll be thinking about you. So that's definitely one of the hurricane season. And I visit Florida a couple times a year. And that's one of the worst things you could possibly live in is whenever you're in a hurricane situation. Holy cow. So I don't know, man. I don't know. Hopefully that this thing doesn't cause too much catastrophe out there. So stay safe, man. Stay safe. My money says Bosa plays. But yeah, guys, we're not one of the next episodes we do, we'll talk about don't know if it'll be the next episode or not. It just kind of depends on when we want to record. But we'll talk about, we'll do our game previews, stuff like that. We'll talk to you guys. You guys talk to us before the games get going and everything like that. But overall, yeah, man, I think it was definitely a successful preseason. A little bit of interesting day of cuts today. Mm-hmm. And I think at the end of the day, man, I think this team's ready.
I do too, man. I'm excited.
I think they're ready for week one, and I think there's going to be a lot of good things this year.
I agree, man. I agree. Be ready for a surprise. This is going to be a good team. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it is. It is. So, but Daniel, do you want to end it there, man?
Yeah, that sounds good to me, my man.
All right. We'll end it on that. So, yeah.
The next one.
Yeah, we will. All right. So, so everybody in the chat, we appreciate you guys tuning in, guys. We'll be back maybe Saturday or if not next week. And we will be talking about the upcoming game starting next week. So that's very exciting. But all you guys, enjoy your night. Thank you all for hanging out with us, guys, talking Steelers with us. We always like seeing you guys in the chat. So next time we're here, it will be on Daniel's channel. So make sure you guys keep up with his community section, and whenever he posts the I don't know what you want to call it, the what do you call that? Like the premiere type thing, whenever people can see that you're going to be going live.
Oh yeah, when I upload the broadcast and it notifies everybody of a upcoming broadcast.
Okay, so right that. So yeah, I guess guys, just keep in touch with your notifications and everything, because the next one will be on his channel. So keep up with that, guys. Either Saturday or Tuesday, probably, depending what works and everything. So, but yeah, good to see you all. Mark, we hope to have you on the channel again soon, brother. Hopefully you're doing well. But yeah, Brian, stay safe, man. We're thinking about you. Prayers to you, my friend, and everybody in the channel. Daniel and I will see you guys on Saturday or Tuesday, and we'll be talking about the upcoming week. So it's going to be very exciting. Preseason's over. Steelers season is right in front of our eyes, guys. It's going to come here fairly quick, so a lot of things to be excited about. But we will see you guys either Saturday or Tuesday. So you guys take care. Enjoy your nights. Have a good rest of your week.
Welcome to the Unofficial Steelers Podcast, the podcast so unofficial it doesn't have a home. Here's your host, from In Hindsight, Nathan Heitz. From Steelers Nation Australia, Mark Davison. And from State of the Steelers, Daniel J. Here we go!